welcome. How's everyone doing today? It's Literary Souls. What is up, Jacob? What's up, Roman? How are you guys doing today? Good morning, all hobbits, elves, dwarves, wizards, and all creatures of Middle Earth, except for Harfoots. F them. Of course, Roman. Hello, Laydart. Hello, all. The Southern Knights are here. The men of Rohan. Sorry.
Yes, yes. You should apologize for that. Oh my gosh, Mando. Hi everyone. How's it going?
Sorry, I've just now had some of my coffee and I'm slowly drinking it in. Just slowly because it's a cold brew and I realize now my new love of coffee has taken a new turn into the cold brew sphere cuz I absolutely love this freaking cold brew from Geek Grind Coffee cuz Geek Grind's amazing. Hello, Purple Valkyrie. How are you doing today? Gibson, please. Hey, I have hair on my feet. Oh, you meant Harfoot. Yes, F them. F them all.
Yes.
How's everyone doing this fine, fantastic Saturday morning? It's not Friday morning because I can't use all of the Fs. Fs.
No, I'm great. I'm tired, but I'm here and I'm ready to talk about some Lord of the Rings shenanigans.
Of course, all of the shenanigans. May have had too much of hold on. May have had too much of the gaffs homebrew right now. Yes. Oh man. Yeah, I will soon my next Twitch payout will be getting some more fantastic Geek Grind coffee because I am also affiliated with Geek Grind Coffee. I'll be getting the All Hail Friday Night Tights blend because I still haven't had that yet. Cause I know. Gibson, I got my first night of 8+ hours of sleep in a week, so big happy. Sleep is important. Those people, my younger self included, that says sleep is for the weak, are weak themselves.
That's right. That's right. Sleep is very important.
It is. And if you want to live a long life, sleep is definitely important. Ah. So, yes, we are going to be talking about some Lord of the Rings, Rings of Prime news. There's a couple of articles. Things are mostly quiet. I think we've memed them to death last week. So for those of you curious, last week I did get a copyright, not a strike, but I did get copyrighted, not for anything else other than the Thousand Years Twilight music that was playing. But
Which is hilarious, by the way.
yes. They couldn't copyright anything else, so yes. I knew I was gonna get copyrighted for the Twilight stuff because Twilight is hardcore and they don't
They do not mess around.
mess around. They're not over 30. Oh man, my contacts are like bugging out on me. Gosh dang it. All right, so which article do you want to go through? We've got 3 different ones. We've got Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Prime, dislike, buried YouTube trailer shows a steep hill, and that is from Forbes. So
Let's go with
Forbes
that
is
one. That one was interesting.
all right. I don't. Yes, I know I was looking for plane tickets before, but leave me alone. I don't want to follow. Dang it, Forbes. Dang it. Share screen. I'm not gonna share audio because there are ads. Wicked Virtue! Hello! How are you, dear? How are you?
This was definitely an interesting article.
Yes, the Lord of the Rings, Ring of Power's dislike buried YouTube trailer shows a steep hill. Forbes is telling the truth. Oh my gosh, they're telling the truth. What is this world coming to when Forbes is telling the truth, man? Really? That one image right there just makes me angry with the 6-handed sword. I want to go with the 6-fingered man, but no, it's the 6-handed sword.
That's right.
You killed my father. Prepare to die. That's literally what she's doing. Oh my god.
Oh no!
That's literally what she's doing, though. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Oh man, you've just ruined that. You've ruined it. Of course they would steal from one of the greatest movies ever
They
made.
would. I have some really awesome merch on the way. I'm excited. Wicked Virtue. I'm excited. Is it what kind of merch is it? Because Wicked Virtue is cool and awesome. And if any of the she's a mod, she can plug her own stuff if she wanted to. But if any mods want to plug Wicked
Witchet?
Wicked
You need more
Wicked
cold brew.
Virtue-
You need more cold brew.
Wicked Virtue stuff, please do so. Because if I plug anything, it's probably going to be wrong. I've done that before. Like when I modded for somebody, I actually put in the wrong link to something.
Oh no!
I was just like, no way!
Oh,
Don't click
no.
that link. It's a Mando shirt. Yay! One of my merch, which is true. I do have a merch store, guys. If you click the link tree in my description, you should take you to my merch store, and I have merch. Anyway, on to the article before my contacts try and jump out of my eyeballs again. Okay. Let's see. It's hard to understand just how much Amazon Prime has riding on the rings of power. So they're admitting that they have a lot at stake here.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Lord of the Rings series with a reported $1 billion budget. We are now less than 2 months away from its debut, and marketing is starting to ramp up for the series. Suffice to say, it has an uphill climb ahead of it. Wow! Who knew? Who knew?
That's unique to see, like a mainstream media news company, and that's what Forbes is. It's unique to see them actually say this out loud. It makes me think that there are some news organizations that see the turning of the tides, and they're trying to like lay the foundation of, hey, we were always on your side.
Yeah, we were always, saying the right things. Yeah, whatever the right thing is at this moment, we're saying it. Mhm. They keep using the words based on the work of J.R.R. Tolkien, but I don't think that means what they think it means. I do not think that word means what you think it means.
Absolutely.
We need to have some sort of meme where it combines Princess
No,
Bride with
no, you can't, don't destroy that beautiful work with this nonsense. But I guess for the meme, you have to. You have to.
memes.
Some sacrifices must be made.
Skeptical Lord of the Rings fans have viewed the new Rings of Power trailer released this past week 6 million times. But the like to dislike ratio, YouTube hides dislike now. But an extension reveals they're talking about the extension. They're saying that we have a way to show the dislike button. Wow. Yeah, this is really crazy. I never would have thought that Forbes would, admit this. Should be troubling for Amazon. It's at 56,000 likes to 159,000 dislikes. Very far underwater. Holy cow! Most of the Tolkien quotes being used as dunks, but the undercurrent of all the comments is the same, that everyone is very skeptical that this will work after the perfection of the original trilogy. Oh, they admit it was a perfection. uh
The
and the bad.
badness of Jackson's Hobbit follow-up.
Wow, that's great.
I
English.
I'm just saying it was bad. It was horrible. I know a lot of people are trying to say that, you know what, I think I'm gonna give The Hobbit a chance because of what Amazon's. Don't do that. No, don't do that. You don't have to go back and buy the Hobbit movies. You don't have to go back and even watch them. You don't have to. If you want to, that's up to you. But I'm just saying it's not gonna change how horrible the Hobbit trilogy was. It's not going to change it. And I don't call it Jackson's Hobbit trilogy. I do not. I'm not
It's
gonna
not.
disrespect Jackson like that. It is. What was it? Warner Brothers. That's when Warner Brothers bought New Line, correct?
Mm-hmm. It was a
Yeah,
Warner
so
Brothers production.
yep. So it is Warner Brothers Hobbit trilogy because it was
Mm-hmm.
always like Peter Jackson could have made The Hobbit wonderful. It could have been a two-film adaptation and it would have been great. You would have had every single character that you needed to have. You could have told the Hobbit story in its entirety. You wouldn't have had to cut corners like what they had to do with the original trilogy,
Mm-hmm.
with the Lord of the Rings, like cutting Tom Bombadil out, um, like taking quotes that Tom Bombadil said and giving them to Treebeard, but he only said those in the extended edition, and
Mm-hmm.
all of that, like all of those like jumping from lily pad to lily pad and hoping that you don't sink into the pond. Yeah, they didn't have to do that, or they wouldn't have had to do that if it was just a straight up Peter Jackson Hobbit dual film.
Mm-hmm.
And I stand
Uh,
by that.
Morning, John. How are you doing today? The creative blue-collar guy is here. Runes of power sunk like the island of Numenor. That's right. All of the corruption as well. And they admit, this has no specific Tolkien books to adapt. So what we've been saying this whole time, have we been
Uh,
saying the right things?
yeah, that's the thing. Have we been actually speaking truth for once? Like, oh wait, we've been doing it this whole entire time. We did it with Star Wars. We did it with Star Trek. We did it with Doctor Who. Now we're doing it sadly with The Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
Each time that there is and we did it with the Halo franchise and that stupid Halo TV show. Like
I didn't
every
even
single
watch it.
time, and don't even we can't even get started on the Wheel of Time. That was, and in my mind, the Wheel of Time is the worst adaptation. It is such a disservice.
Mm-hmm.
So, and
Uh,
the Wheel of Time was made by Amazon, so we just have to base, and we're in our right by doing this. Amazon made the Wheel of Time. Look at how bad that is. They're
they're doing
making
the
the Lord of the
same
Rings.
thing.
It's going to be just as bad, if not worse. It will not be better than the Wheel of Time. It will be just as bad, if not worse.
Mm-hmm. Uh, well, my skepticism has come from spending this much on any show individually. What concerns this person who's writing this article the most, is that Amazon trusted this project to two people who are completely unproven in the field of
Did did uh,
television. Did
did
Gary from
Gary
Nerd Rod? What?
did Gary write this?
Oh my god, I was talking to a normie yesterday and he's very excited about Rings of Prime. I tried to explain it all to him. I tried. Yeah, I've tried to explain to my normie friends. They won't listen. Are the same, yeah. Are the same filmmakers that did Wheel of Time doing Lord of the Rings? No, to my
No, it's a new
understanding.
team because the Wheel of Time is still in development. They're still making more of that show, which is
Mm-hmm.
mind-boggling to me that they're still giving that show a shot. So they had to
Right.
get a brand new team, and this team is just as bad, if not worse, and like just as unproven as the previous, like as the other team that's
Mm-hmm.
working on Wheel of Time. It's all bad. It is all bad. It's not going to be good, and there's no way. Like you can go ahead and try to convince me it's going to be good, and I welcome that. I welcome any other like contrarian take to what I have. Um, any opposite take to what I have, I welcome that. But you're gonna have to bring some solid facts and back them up.
Mm-hmm. What is up, Thad? How are you doing today? But yeah, like I love how this dude disses on Patrick or on Patrick and John. He said, I'm not insulting either of them. Oops, stop it. Because there's not even anything to insult. Both
Wow.
have resumes that are so incredibly sparse, with both being uncredited writers of Star Trek Beyond, writers on on a future Flash Gordon project that doesn't exist yet. Wow.
Wow.
I'm not insulting them because there's nothing to insult yet, because there's nothing there.
That is beautiful.
Dang.
Yes, it should be
Morning.
morning. It should be morning all. Yes.
Oh man. They must have had one hell of a pitch to Amazon to be trusted with the most expensive show in history, and easily the most weight that's put into any Amazon Prime has ever done for its streaming service. Wow, I love this dude. Who I need to see who wrote this. Who wrote this article? Paul Tassi. I've been writing about video games, television, movies for Forbes for over 10 years. What? Oh
Paul
man.
Tassi for FNT, please. Thank you very much.
Wow. I think everyone has a right to be skeptical given the evidence and even given what's been shown so far. Wow. I like this guy.
The
This guy
only
needs
thing
to
that will
write
shut
more
everyone
things for
up is a
Forbes.
good show. See, he just said it right there. That's exactly correct. The only thing that will shut everyone up, and that's me, and that's you, Mando, is a good show. And
Yep.
come September, we'll figure out if that's something Amazon has been able to make here.
Oh man, I hope these two turds do not really get their hands on Flash Gordon. Yeah.
It's already in the works. It's already in the works, lad. So let's go back up and try to finish the article. Let's see.
Okay, it's this one. I love it. He's like, they must have had one hell of a pitch, man.
Yeah. This isn't to say that a hit can't come from unexpected places. Game of Thrones' David Benioff, for instance, criticized as he may be now, had some stinkers like the screenplay of X-Men Origins Wolverine in his history, while D.B. Weiss had almost nothing in his name before Thrones. But still, this seems like a very, very big gamble for Amazon. And that is very true. It the thing that Game of Thrones had going for it, it had actual
Source
lore,
material.
it had source material, it had an actual fan base, a following before the show was even created. That's the same. You just translate that over to Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings has a bigger fan base. It has more source material than Game of Thrones. The Lord of the Rings, just the 6 books that make up the trilogy, is a published story. It has a beginning, a middle, and end. Game of Thrones just has a beginning, maybe a middle, and nothing else afterwards.
Because someone just doesn't want to finish.
And so that's why you can have 2 hacks like D&D start off so strong with season 1. They started off freaking strong. I really enjoy season 1, season 2, and 3. 4 is pretty decent by itself. Like it's not that bad in my opinion, but I'm also like not a gigantic Game of Thrones fan like I am for Lord of the Rings. It's just they had source material. That was the thing. They had the source material. And so that's why you can have 2 no names make something like a powerhouse like Game of Thrones. And so if you were to just stick with the source material for Lord of the Rings, you can have 2 no names from Bad Robot and you can make something great. But guess what? They're going into the story that Tolkien never wrote, which is just fake BS. And that's why this is going to flounder and this is going to die.
Yep. They were probably racing Ginger Swap Flash Gordon. Probably. People forget for the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones, George was on the writing staff and he was an accomplished TV show writer and showrunner. The 2 hacks there had help.
Yes, that's the key word, help. They had help. The source material helped them. The writer of the source material helped them. Then you had all of the other writing staff that actually cared about Game of Thrones, and they had like they were going to create they were going to create a piece of art. That is, if you watch the behind the scenes of Game of Thrones, like everyone was on fire about Game of Thrones. Everyone was like, yes, we're going to do this. We're going to make something happen. It is going to be amazing.
And
then
George said he'd finish the book before the end of the series.
yep. And guess what? Season 7 and 8 hit.
He got money and got lazy.
Oh no, I think he's always been lazy because if you look at the gaps between his books, um, it's always been there. It's always
Mhm.
been there in the shadows. It's just when as soon as he gets a little bit of fame, a little bit of popularity, and some money, then he's like, "Oh, I don't have to do anything for the rest of my life," because he got famous when he was old. Like, yes,
Mhm.
Game of Thrones, he was famous in the fantasy realm. He would go to Comic Cons and nerds would come up to shake his hands. Well, Comic Con didn't really get mainstream until around Game of Thrones.
Mhm.
Like even when the Lord of the Rings was popular back in 2001 and they went to Comic-Con and had fans like just rush them and they were treated like the Beatles like but that was just the nerds.
Yep.
That wasn't your average person. Now your average person wants to go to Comic-Con. Your average
Mhm.
person wants to go to like fan expos and to other conventions. That's nowadays. It's
Mhm.
not the same 22 years ago. Like
Ronan.
nowadays
lazy author.
now it's fun to be a nerd. It's cool to be a geek.
Mhm.
You're you're almost a part of the popular crowd if you're like weird or like
Mhm.
if you have like a quirky hobby that you enjoy. But back then I remember I was bullied for being a nerd. I was bullied for liking Lord of the Rings. But now if you try to bully anyone, like, you're the bad person. Well, I mean,
Mhm.
you should be, but, like, I remember when
Now it's culturally accepted that bullying is wrong.
yes, like, being a nerd and being a geek, like, you were an outsider 20 years ago. And
Mhm.
even more so back in the 70s and 80s and 90s. So, yeah, I just there's a lot of
Uh
to me, it's like a bandwagon. A lot of people are bandwagoning.
well that's if anyone has ever studied history for more than 5 minutes, you'll understand that's kind of what history is things get popular, people jump on the bandwagon, then more something else gets popular, they jump on that bandwagon. So it's always hopping to the next more
Yep.
popular thing because people are sheep. Thad says they also fired slash removed Martin from the show after the fourth season, and it is well known that Martin is only motivated to write books and short stories when he needs the money. I bet you they fired him because he didn't finish the book like they told. Like he was, I bet you in the contract he was told to finish the freaking book, and he didn't. And they're like, if you're not going to finish the book, we're going to fire you.
And I guarantee you that was not D&D firing him. That was HBO. That was
Mm-hmm.
those were the top dog executives that were like, "Dude, we need source material and you said you were going to give it to us and you haven't delivered."
And I bet you he's not an easy person to work with.
And that's one of the things that all we have is speculation. All we
Mm-hmm.
have is assumptions because there are NDAs signed, there are contracts that are sealed.
Mm-hmm.
We still cannot see the contract that Amazon has for the Rings of Power.
Mm-hmm.
We still don't know exactly what they do and don't have. It's just an agreement was made with the Tolkien estate that we were able to buy some rights to the Lord of the Rings, and what we can say is we have the rights to the Lord of the Rings, the appendices, and the Hobbit.
Mm-hmm.
And we
But
don't have the rights to the Silmarillion or any of the histories.
Gary from Nerdrotic did say that the reason they aren't using hobbits, they're using Harfoots is because of a rights issue. He did confirm that.
Yep.
So so let's try and finish up this last little paragraph. I think that's it. For what's being shown itself, I will say that yes, you can absolutely see the $1 billion budget on screen, as the production value here looks like any blockbuster movie. But I have yet to hear a compelling story behind the craft being crafted, as the trailer just seems like a bunch of vague generalities where I cannot really parse where this is supposed to be going as a prequel, other than the descriptions I've heard or I've read about the Lord of the Rings era in which this takes place. I like this guy. I'm I'm tempted to follow this guy on Forbes, because I like how his writing style. He's like, I'm not gonna diss you because there's nothing to diss because you have nothing.
Yeah, yeah, but as with every human, like a broken clock is right twice a day.
So
So
I don't know if this dude has been a
he
shill
might,
before.
yeah, he might have a good take right here, one that we agree with, but then he could come out to have one that we don't agree with, or he could
Mm-hmm.
come out to just be shilling for something, or like, and then you also have to imagine that there are people that aren't going to agree with this article that think that he's shilling for like the Tolkien purists in quotation
Mm-hmm.
marks. So you have to take everything you see with a grain of salt. But what I read in that article, yeah, that is what we've been saying for since the Super Bowl.
Yup. I just find it funny how, like, it's nice. Granted, saying "I told you so" is never really helpful in any situation, but it still feels really nice to be like, "We told you so."
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh man. So which next one do you want to read the "How We're Making Isildur Relatable"?
I
Or
don't understand that title, but let's go.
the Rings of Power producers aren't concerned about the other fantasy drama on HBO because everything sucks.
Um. Okay. If it's up to me, let's do the Isildur one because I
Okay.
still I want to understand that. I want to understand that one.
Okay, let me da, 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 da. I'm gonna hide that because there we go, that's better. And share screen. Sharing the screen. Please let me share the screen. Don't be like this. Okay. It said there was an error sharing your screen. Like, shut up. You can't tell me what to do with my life.
That's right. All
But
right.
yeah,
So this is written by Laura Hurley and it was published 2 days ago. Okay, so it's still pretty fresh.
yeah,
Gotcha.
by Cinema Blend.
Awesome, awesome. So,
I've never even
how the
heard of
Lord of the
this.
Rings, the Rings of Power. I love how they have that gigantic title. They have the Lord of the Rings, like that gives it any weight. It should just be called Amazon, the Rings of Power. That's what it should be called. Um, so that's what I'm gonna call it from now on. If you want to call it the Rings of Prime, that's cool, but I'm gonna call it the Rings of Power because that's what my brain translates it to.
Hey, that's fine.
Um, they're gonna try to make Isildur more relatable to fans. Why do we need to relate to royalty? Why do we need to relate to a king?
I mean, they
Why?
already said that I as a female need to relate to orcs.
That's true with the female orcs. That's hilarious, and
I mean,
I love that that is the only reason that they have female orcs is for representation and not simply for the fact that there were female orcs and that the female orcs would have been in battle. Like that's just a simple like that is such a lackadaisical fact in the legendarium that
I
they
need
had
to
to
be
spice it up.
represented by orcs. Yes.
But doesn't that mean that they're saying that women are orcs?
I don't need you to tell me to think more than 5 seconds about the female orcs. All I care about is the representation. Because like I have the attention span of a flea, so I don't need you making me think further into this.
Absolutely. I don't want you to think more into this, you crazy woman. I don't want you
Neither do
to.
they. They obviously don't want women thinking I can't marry. Hold on, stupid notification. I can't marry things like the rags of puff. I can't many things like
Yes.
I
All
can't
right.
think past the representation because then my worldviews would start contradicting itself, and then I would realize that I'm dumb.
Yes. That's exactly it. If they don't think past if you think past representation, you're going to understand that your worldview is flawed. But if you just think, "Oh, I'm represented, I'm happy." And you go about your daily life, then That's what they want.
Yep. That's all that they want is just for you to be like, hey, the next best thing I support. Huzzah.
Amazon is finally bringing Lord of the Rings to the small screen with the Rings of Power. Oh, that's disgusting. Almost 5 years after the official announcement in 2017. Back in the early days, there was no saying how many, if any, familiar faces would appear. What there should only be like the only familiar faces should be elves. That is it. There should be no Istari. And Sauron, I guess, but we only saw Sauron in his like
Eye
metal
for him.
armor.
Metal
Yeah,
armor and his big eye.
yeah, like
Have you seen the memes that have come out about it? Like that's his
yes,
eye, his other eye. It's just so big.
I love it. I love it. Uh, I like those memes. Like the world goes around with memes, man. Like that's the only way that we can actually laugh about this and try to stay as
Mm-hmm.
sane as possible is with these memes because that statement right there, that question, there was no saying how many, if any, familiar faces would appear and whether the series would be set in the same universe as the Peter Jackson film. That last sentence that last part of the sentence doesn't make any more sense than the beginning part. This whole sentence makes my brain hurt, Mando. It makes it hurt. So there should only be elves that are familiar faces. You shouldn't have a familiar face with Sauron because he can shapeshift. He can turn into whatever he sets his mind to. And then, should this series be set in the same universe as the Peter Jackson films? Yes, because Peter Jackson specifically stated that he is not creating an alternate universe. He's creating J.R.R. Tolkien's Legendarium on the silver screen. That is what Peter Jackson and everyone that worked on those films said in the appendices to the films, like in the behind the scenes to the films. They said we wanted to create what Tolkien we wanted to put on the screen what Tolkien created. So yes, the Rings of Power should stay as faithful as possible. Should stay as faithful as possible to what Tolkien created, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
going to.
That says, sure, I can relate to Isildur. Why my own homeland of Jersey City was taken over by a fallen angel, sunk beneath Manhattan Harbor, and I cut a ring off the body of a fallen Dark Lord the other day.
Oh my god.
Yes, I can fully relate to Isildur because I cut off rings from Dark Lords every day. I
Okay,
love
let's
it.
see. Now with some familiar characters played by new actors and Jackson not involved. Yeah, they had to add that to link to their other article. Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
what great journalism right there. Maxim Baldry, who plays Isildur, has opened up about trying to make the character relatable despite his well-known failure to destroy the One Ring. Why moving on. Although Isildur didn't have an active role in either the trilogy of the Lord of the Rings novels or the film adaptations, he is best known for not destroying the One Ring when he had the chance, which of course led to the events of that trilogy and a lot of heartache for a lot of characters. This is horrible writing. This journalist, Laura, you depress me. It's not necessarily the greatest legacy for somebody to have, but a juicy role for an actor. When The Lord of the Rings: The Rings of Power
Juicy.
cast spoke with Cinema Blend during San Diego Comic Con, Maxim Baldry shared what it has been like to have the opportunity to explore a different side to Isildur. First off, he's not in The Lord of the
Juicy.
Rings because he's dead. He's only there in the prologue to the movie because that is a pivotal point in the story.
Yeah,
Yes.
you need to tell his story to understand what the heck is even going on in the Lord of the Rings. So,
And
like,
then he dies. He's no longer needed. His character served his purpose for the plot. That is how a story works. That is how a fairy tale works. People will
mm-hmm,
live and people will die as the author sees fit.
mm-hmm. And like
So
and the Silmarillion, like he had like his backstory is very brief too. Then
but we don't have to deal with the Silmarillion or the histories because they don't have the rights to them. So that's why whenever I hear like Alasia or you or Lady Gravemaster talk about the beauty and splendor of Galadriel, like that is wonderful and we should talk about that to have that on the record. Yes. But it's not needed because that's in the Silmarillion, that's in the histories, that's in things that they don't have access to. So you just need to point blank period say uh you don't have the rights to that. So what you're trying to do with Galadriel is fake. You should have just stuck with what's in the Lord of the Rings. Because Galadriel's not in the Hobbit last time I checked.
are you sure? It's
I'm
been a
pretty
while.
sure it's just Elrond. It is just Imladris. It is just Rivendell and Elrond.
Okay, because it's been like 3 or 4 years since I've read The Hobbit, so
And then they go over to Mirkwood and it just deals with Legolas's father. Legolas isn't even in this in the
right,
Hobbit.
yeah, like Legolas like isn't even. Wait, was Legolas even actual? Oh yeah, that's right. In the actual books, he's a very minute character,
Yeah,
right?
he,
Right.
he's he's a very minor character in the Lord of the Rings, and they that is one thing that I did enjoy about the Lord of the Rings is the film adaptation is that they gave Legolas a bigger role in the
Mm-hmm.
Fellowship, um, and it only makes sense that yes, he would have done those things. It's just not really talked about because you had three powerhouses: Gimli, Legolas, and Aragorn. It was just them traveling around beating the crap out of the evil enemies,
Mm-hmm.
and like that's not really the point of the story. The point of the story is to follow Frodo and Sam and have them destroy the ring. That's the whole point of the Lord of the Rings is to see a ring get destroyed. So it makes sense that a pointy-eared elvish princeling doesn't really have that big of a role in the
Mm-hmm.
main story. Um and go scroll back up so I can read something that the it says that Max and Baldry shared what it has been like to have the opportunity to explore a different side to Isildur. You're in uncharted waters, buddy. You're in uncharted waters.
We
Uh,
don't even know what his actual side is. What are you
yeah,
talking about? A different side of Isildur? We don't even know. Like we know nothing about him other than he didn't destroy the ring, and he was actually a pretty decent guy.
he was a decent human. He was a decent human that was then corrupted by I want to say it was greed. I think it was like the hunger for power and like being corrupted by the ring. We don't, and that's the thing. We don't know what the ring told Isildur because the ring spoke to its bearers. The ring like tried to get them to bring it back to Sauron, to its master. Well, to its other half basically. So we don't know what the ring was saying at Mount Doom when it was
Mm-hmm.
about to be tossed away. I'm sure it was saying everything possible because the ring is the embodiment of Sauron. So it was like, oh, if I get tossed in here, then I'm dead. So let me try to say, like, I'll give you riches, I'll give you power, I'll make you live a long life, you'll be able to protect those you love, yada, yada, yada. Everything in the book to try to stay alive, the ring did, but we're not told about it. So everything I just said is just speculation.
Mm-hmm.
It's not grounded anywhere in fact. That's like what you would call headcanon. What
Mm-hmm.
you believe because that's what you have put together. So his quote is, can you scroll down? A privilege and an honor. I definitely felt the weight of expectation of people's interpretation of this character. The interpretation is he's a good king, but he gets corrupted by the ring. That's all you need to portray. You need to portray a Greek tragedy. We're
Basically.
kind of we're kind of at the beginning of his journey almost. I mean, you should be considering how young he is, and he's definitely immortal, so there is a beginning, middle, and end. There's not
Mm-hmm.
just a beginning like elves. um I was grateful to be able to explore him finding himself. Oh, he has to find himself. and not wanting to pursue his father's dream of becoming a sea captain and kind of wanting to do something else and take it in a different direction. So
Mm.
he's going to be a rebellious teenager. He's going to be a rebellious teenager based on that.
That trope
That
has
is
been done.
in turn, it makes him a lot more relatable, and maybe you can understand him down the line. So he is going to. This is the Rings of Power. Isildur is just going to be a rebellious teenager that is not going to listen to his father, Elendil. That's his name, right? Elendil.
I believe
Yeah.
so, yeah.
And so he's not going to listen to his dad, who is a member of the faithful. And Isildur is a stalwart member of the faithful because he did save the seed of the white tree.
Mm-hmm. If it wasn't for
So,
him, we wouldn't have the Tree of Gondor.
yep. I mean, so you're just gonna create a rebellious teenager. That is what you're gonna do. The character of Isildur only briefly appeared in Peter Jackson film. Yes, he wasn't needed. He was dead. That is why he only briefly appeared. You see him get riddled with arrows as he loses the ring. That is
Mm-hmm.
all that matters. He cut the ring from Sauron's hand, took the ring, followed Elrond up to Mount Doom, was about to throw it in, changed his mind, went back down, lived a very long life as king. Then he went and he was I forget the Gladden Fields. I believe that is
Gladen
where he
Fields, yeah.
yeah, Gladen Fields. That is where he died, and he was just riding through with a party of other Gondorians, and then he gets waylaid by a bunch of orcs, and then he doesn't stand a single chance. He dies. The ring
Mm-hmm.
goes into the Anduin River, and that is the story of Isildur. That is it. That is all you should care about. That is literally all you should care about, Isildur, because he played the part that he was supposed to play.
Mm-hmm.
His screen time was more or less devoted to showing how badly he failed and guaranteed that the evil Sauron would have the chance to rise to power again. You mean
The part?
he played his part in the plot? You mean to tell me that he was actually a well-written character because he advanced the plot? That won't be the case for the Rings of Power, and the Amazon show may just have what it takes to make Isildur relatable and his actions easier to understand. He may be fated to not destroy the One Ring eventually, but there is plenty of story to be told before that happens. Oh my gosh. Oh
If
my
the
god.
latest trailer is any indication. What? There's the latest trailer doesn't tell us anything. Thad makes a good point. That point at Mountain Doom is also where the ring is the most powerful. No one could have
Exactly.
actually thrown it in there. Tolkien states that, and it's not a failure of Isildur to do the impossible. Right.
Exactly. I don't even know what letter you're talking about because I don't really give a shit about the letters. That's already a known like failure on my part, I guess, is I don't care about the letters. But I already knew that from reading the freaking book. If you
Yeah,
pay
like
attention to the way Tolkien writes and the way he writes about the ring and the way he writes about the hubris of not just mankind but also the elves, then you would know, yeah, there's no way that you're going to get rid of that ring.
especially at Mount Doom, it is physically impossible for you to destroy the ring because it won't let you. Like it will take over every bit of who you are
Yep.
because that is where it was forged.
We read that with Frodo at Mount Doom, and we see that with Frodo in the original trilogy movie.
Mm-hmm.
In Peter Jackson's trilogy. We see that and we read about that. So there's two instances that the ring is about to be tossed away and it does its best to not be thrown into Mount Doom. And it was
Yeah.
only with the help of a best friend, Samwise Gamgee, that the ring was able to be tossed away.
Well, it actually wasn't even able to be tossed away. It took Smeagol
Biting it
biting
biting
and
it
then
off.
falling.
Yes. And so it wasn't just one person, Frodo. It was two people, Sam. But then it was three people, Gollum. So it took 3 beings to, in a roundabout way, toss that ring into the pit, and it was all because it was a jumbled mess. Frodo wanted to keep it. Frodo was fighting Gollum. Gollum wanted to keep it. Gollum was fighting Frodo. Sam was just like, guys, come on. We got to toss it away. We got to throw it away. And so he's trying to I think he gets knocked out by Gollum, right? In the book.
I think more or less what happened. If
I haven't reached that point in my reread yet. I haven't gotten there when I'm reading it again.
I feel
Um,
like it was one of those things where he was. I
because
don't know.
anyways, it took 3 people
Mm-hmm.
to destroy the ring, and they all had different motivations for what was
Mm-hmm.
going on in that very heated moment.
Yeah, it was literally divine intervention that caused Gollum to fall in. Like, more or less, what could have what could, like, granted, I would be a very bad friend if I did this, but what Sam should have done and just been like, oh, or what Elrond or whoever, like, oh, you don't want to throw it in, I will just push you in.
Yeah, yeah,
But then that would make you a horrible person and you commit murder.
yeah, and that's the thing. That is what Tolkien did best. Was there were so many avenues that could have stopped Melkor, that could have stopped Sauron, that could have stopped like all of the evil that happened throughout the first to third age. But there was always a better path, the path that you get to keep your honor, you get to keep your manhood, you get to keep your womanhood. Um, so a resolution that you can take pride in. So there was always that other avenue, and the other avenue is always very difficult. So, and it's so well written. Why didn't you just go with that? Why did you have to condense like close to, oh man, how many, 6,000
Several,
years?
at
It,
least, very least,
at least 6,000 years.
not including flashbacks.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, the flashbacks are going to be horrible. Of course, the Rings of Power has a vast ensemble of characters, and it's too early to say just how much focus that Isildur will get. Fortunately, Amazon already renewed its Lord of the Rings TV show for a second season. Not fortunately. Not fortunately. That is disgusting. And look at that. They did this several years ago because we're getting 5. It's not just the second season. It's You're gonna get 5 seasons of this crap. You're getting 5. That is the contract. So the only way that you're not gonna get it is if we show them that we do not want to watch this. If we show them that the only way that we're watching this is if we're gonna review it and then tear it apart and point out every single fallacy, that is the only way that we're gonna win. So at least 2 seasons are no, it's 5, Laura. If
Right,
you did your
right.
research, Laura, it would be 5 seasons. Thank you.
Senior content producer. Oh, that's a nice title. But the thing, like, I want to touch on, because like we're starting to run a little bit out of time. Episodes will release weekly rather than the full season streaming, and we can look forward to 2 months of Middle Earth action spread over 8 episodes. Which, of course, that's old information, and that's, yeah, whatever.
So this article that was released very recently has outdated information,
Yep.
but it's still completely and utterly wrong.
Yep. Yep.
Ah, that's just
This was
depressing.
published 2 days ago, guys. 2 days ago, this article was published.
Oh man, I just and that is why you have normies who don't understand this. They oh, it's just so depressing. This is the normies are just going to gobble this article up.
Mm-hmm.
They're
You
going
know, or sorry.
it's funny. We know Isildur had a wife who was alive after his death because of when his 4th son was born, but they ignore that female character but make a new one, a daughter. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I mean, yeah. So let's go ahead and start on the actual book that we're reading because why not? For those of you who have read the Silmarillion with us previously, we've already kind of stated that this is kind of a rehashing, but just in a different flair to the Silmarillion, like certain parts of the Silmarillion. Let me close this window and close that window, and too many windows are open. Go away. So the chapters, so we're the for those of you maybe who are newer to the show, welcome. We are going through the Book of Lost Tales, Part 1, History of Middle Earth. And the chapters we are going through today are The Coming of the Elves, The Making of I can't pronounce words. The Theft of Melko and the Darkening of Valinor, and The Flight of the Noldoli, or the Noldor, for those of you who are more up to date on the Noldor elves, which are kind of Tolkien goes back and forth in saying gnomes, specifically referring to the Noldoli and elves, which it's weird because like my understanding is they're all elves, but specifically the Noldor are called gnomes sometimes. So maybe motherhood raising 4 great sons is not a sign of womanly strength and power that they want. I mean, I guess not. Like, they're already trying to take away the word mother and say birthing person. So
Just
why I don't understand, like,
don't
as a
understand it.
woman, as a fit member of the female side of the species, why is that empowering to be called a birthing person? Like, why? Like, I've been demoted. Like,
Yeah, yeah. The entirety of the female side of our species has been demoted and has been taken over by the male side.
the weak males. It's not so strong males don't try to be like women. They don't.
I
It's
understand
the
this, but
weak
also
males.
it's the strong males that aren't doing anything. They're
That is
not
true.
doing anything to stand up for this. They're not doing anything to put a stop to this. They are being hamstrung by you hurt my fifis. I'm gonna call the police now. It's gonna get to that point. It has gotten to that point over in Britain. It has gotten to that point in many other countries. Canada. It is you cannot hurt someone's feelings. And if you do, the police will be involved. And so that is why I don't really see too many strong men standing up and speaking out about this, and actually not just speaking out, like voicing your opinion, like me saying that yes, no, there's no such thing as a birthing person. There's only a woman. Only women can have children. Me saying that, yeah, that's great and all, but yeah, I don't I can't I can't legislate someone over there, like someone over in California that says we're gonna put birthing person on a baby's birth certificate. Like, who was the birthing person? That that just hurts my brain, and I want to stop talking about it, Mando. Let's just move on to the story.
Well, I wanted to say hi. Is it LBO? uh, brain. I can't. But thank you for coming into my chat. Yes, it's very all of the cringe. Everything is cringe. Betas are the Harfoots of men. Yes. Yes, agreed. Um all right. So the coming of elves and the making of core. Is it core? He
I always just said core.
core. Okay. I still didn't quite understand like is Core Valinor or is Core the Undying Lands? I even reading this, I'm just like, I don't. What is Core?
I don't.
I just want to hear birthing person. That's it. I'm out.
L-Box, I know, man. I feel the same way. I just want to leave the studio. Just like get me out of here. We're talking about that again.
I'm
No.
sorry. It's relevant to the article
I
we
mean, it's
just
relevant,
read.
but it also hurts my brain.
Oh yeah, it's stupid.
You're
Like,
hurting my feelings, Mando.
oh, get over it, Fifi. That's it. Ha! I found the thing. You'll understand that reference later.
Yeah,
Um
yeah.
yes, please don't go. I appreciate you being here. We are going to talk about the actual thing that we need to be talking about. Um so basically, Book of Lost Tales, 13 Histories of Middle Earth, Book 1, Chapter 5 through 6 and 7. That's what we're kind of going through. What? Par Why do you gotta
Parcel
use
Parcelsus? Or Paracelsus. I don't know. Invented the concept of gnomes. So somebody invented the concept of gnomes, the folklore creature in the 16th century. Tolkien used his word gnomes, but not his usage. Tolkien meant the meaning of the word, which was intelligence. What? I'm so confused, Thad. I am so see. That's the problem with YouTube comments is you can only have 200 characters in a comment, and then you have to press enter, and then you have to come up with 200 more characters in a comment. So, um,
I think
next time, like put like a one out of so many. Tolkien eventually stopped calling the Noldor gnomes because he did not want people to think the Noldor were those type of gnomes. It's tiny like garden gnomes.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
Mhm. There are
There
only so
are
many
yep.
things.
I understand that. I understand.
It's just like I can only type this much. Must try to complete to convey my meaning in less than 200 words. Uh, um, more or less. So kind of very brief recap. So chapter 5 of book 1 of the Book of Lost Tales. Yes, that is a long title, but I'm not the one who came up with it. I'm just saying what it is. Um, For those of you who have read The Silmarillion, this will be a familiar story, but there are some twists and turns and just some extra descriptions. So basically, the one of the biggest differences that I have seen between this and the story in the Silmarillion is in the Silmarillion, it's I always forget the name of the gods because there's too many of them. One dude on the horse finds them. He's just walking
Orme.
around and Orme just comes across the elves. In this story, Manwë is searching for the elves, and Middle Earth, or Earth itself, cries out, "The children of Iluvatar are here!" And Manwë's like, "Go get them!" Like that's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
biggest difference between this story and the Silmarillion is the Valar are actively searching for the children of Iluvatar. Manwë is searching for them. He's looking for them. He sends his eagles out to get them. Whereas the Silmarillion, they're just like they're gonna come at some point in time, and it just so happens, or word I can't pronounce because redneck
Or
brain,
Orome.
Orome, just kind of comes across them. So I actually like this version better because it gives you a better understanding that the Valar like are looking. They're not just like okay, they're gonna come. What are the because like to me in the Silmarillion, it's just like okay, where they just sit around doing nothing, waiting, like what?
Yeah,
Whereas in
that's why I don't like this version of the Finding of the Elves. I just don't like it. I like the other version better. Better.
Feather.
Whereas better. Stream tongue, thank you very much. Um I enjoy it that Orome, it's like his side mission to find the elves. He's actually just going around doing what he loves, which is just running around the woods, killing
Mhm.
monsters and hunting game. And then everybody else, all the other Ainur, are just chilling. They're just they're just enjoying the creation that they helped create with Iluvatar. And
Hmm.
so I find that like what we see in the Silmarillion, I find that to be more enjoyable to
Hmm.
read than this.
Interesting. Okay, so yeah, this is where we
We differ.
We differ.
Yes.
Yeah, because like I like this story better. Uh and let's see. Periclesius. No, it's because there's no L next to the C, so it's Paracelsius. We're just gonna say Para. Was one of the pioneers of the medical part of the Renaissance. He is one of the core people of the German part of the Renaissance, and he is a fascinating dude worth reading upon someday. Yes, the Renaissance was actually a very, very fascinating time in our history. Hi Rosie, how are you doing today, Miss Hobbit? The actual hobbits, not these hobbit lookalikes that aren't actually even lookalikes, these nasty, dirty feeted harfeets, the harfeetsies. um so yeah, basically this first part of the story is the Valar are actively searching for the children of Iluvatar, so the elves. They find them, and I love that there's like this little sentence where all of the Valar are like, "Yay, we found them!" And then Melkor, it basically says he tried to act happy, and he's just like, "Yay!" It's just like, "Oh, cool, they're here." Like basically everyone else is like so happy, and Melkor or Melko in this story is just like,
Yep. Yep. That's pretty much it.
oh man, we don't talk about the Harfeetsies. Oh goodness, we're doing all right, Rosa. We just got done reading two interesting articles, so we're on to the main part of the show today. Um, we don't talk about the Harfeetsies. So talking about the two trees, Manway, Melkor is just like, cool, they're here. And of course, like, I think the thing I also didn't like about it is the Valar are so freaking happy to see the children of Iluvatar that they're like, oh, Melkor, cool, you just stay over there. We're going to do this. And Melkor's like, so I can, like, walk around and do what I want? Like, I can just do whatever. And they're like, yeah, cool. We're looking at the children of Iluvatar. Do whatever. And he's just like,
Yeah,
okay.
that's exactly what he was doing, and it's oh man, Melkor.
He's just like, wait, I can just do whatever because you guys are too distracted. And Manaway's like, yeah, cool, whatever.
Just
Yeah.
chill, just hang out, man. Like, shut up, leave me alone. And then he's just like, "Oh, you're totally not paying attention to me. Oh, okay, bye, guys."
Oh man, it's hit or miss for me on which version of the stories are better. I wish Tolkien had lived long enough to work on on completing more of those tales.
Ding, 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 ding,
Agreed.
ding, ding.
Agreed.
That is the nail on, like that is the hammer hitting the nail on the head, because he from the information and all the studying that I've done, he was completely wrapped up not only in having a personal life and having an actual real life outside of being an author, which is very important and almost unheard of nowadays,
mm-hmm.
because you always have to work on that grind. Tolkien didn't have that grind mindset, Mando. He didn't have it. But he was wrapped up in the late 50s and 60s in correcting the mistakes that the editors made in his work, The Lord of the Rings. They were
Mm-hmm.
constantly making mistakes in every single edition that was printed. There would be new mistakes pop up. There would be old mistakes remade. And so he would have to say, no, no, no. Like I said before, it's not elf-ish. It's elv-ish. It's not
Mm-hmm.
dwarf-ish. It's dwarvish. And so there were constant um mistakes and annotations that he'd have to make, and he would constantly have to talk to his publishers and his editors, and so that took years to do. And he was wanting to work on the Silmarillion. He wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher has stated many times that he would talk to his dad about the Silmarillion, and like, someday I'll work on that. Someday I'll get that published.
Mm-hmm.
I wanna have this as my magnum opus. I want to have the Silmarillion be complete. But then his wife died, and it
Mm-hmm.
broke his heart, and he died a year later.
Yep.
And you have no control on when you're going to die.
Yep.
And I've seen that in my own life where a wife has passed away and the husband died of a broken heart, and it was just devastating for the entire all the families and friends involved, because we're like, he was only in his 70s. He was supposed to live another 10 years. Well, I mean, when your heart breaks, it's your time to go. And so
Mm-hmm.
that is what we missed out on. One of the greatest literary minds ever on the face of this planet uh, went home to be with his wife and died of a broken heart because he
Mm-hmm.
just he didn't want to live without her, and it's only because of her that we got these stories. We have to
Yep.
remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep. Tolkien had a hard time finishing, quote unquote, finishing names. Melkor, Melko, on Gondor. He got there in the end, though. Yes, he did. What's up, Jeremy Swiggs? Why are you saying bye to Ark?
I don't know, where am I going?
I don't know. Real life. What's that? I don't know, Rosie. Jeremy Swiggs grind like that nasty little coffees. Don't you make fun of my coffees. I'm out of coffees.
You're out of coffee?
Or my cup of coffee
Yeah,
right
well,
now.
wow, that's unlike you.
This is my headcanon, but I always think of the Valar and Melkor's relationship being like how people in my Italian American community often ignore, make excuses for, or overlook what our mafia cousins do.
Very well could be. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, Johnny Cash is a good example as well, Jeremy. And hopefully you'll come back soon, Rosie. Yeah, Johnny Cash did the same thing. His wife died, which his with for as far as the like Johnny Cash in comparison with Tolkien, Johnny Cash like very similar in a musical sense to Tolkien. Not exact, but like if it had not been for his wife, Johnny Cash would have gone the Elvis route. He was on his way to the Elvis route of
Before
basically.
Elvis was dead, yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
I believe it was like 72. No, it was 68, 69 that were like the hardest years of Johnny Cash's drug use. So, yeah. Yeah, that would have been sad in its own right, because he was an amazing guitarist and artist back in the 60s, and we
Mhm.
wouldn't have gotten any more of his music in the 70s or 80s. But then when his wife did pass away, yep, he went shortly thereafter. And it's
Mhm.
it's often like that. Like some of the greatest creatives and artists, they have a very, very powerful relationship with their significant other, and so
Mhm.
when that significant other goes, they're just like, "Yep, it's my time to go too," and it's just something
Or
that we as fans have to deal with.
or on the other hand, someone like George Lucas, who if it hadn't been for his wife, we wouldn't have gotten the trilogy, and then he gets too big for his britches and then divorces his wife. We get
Yep.
like, yeah, don't be like George Lucas.
Nope. Don't.
Yeah, June was his world. Yeah, he only lasted 3 months after June Carter passed. But let's continue with the story. So basically, we get the idea of Melkor's just like, oh, y'all are ignoring me. Cool. I'm going to destroy everything you care about.
See, and I don't like this part of the story. I just don't like this chapter. I don't like
Mm,
this chapter at all. I like the way that Tolkien wrote it in the Silmarillion, because the Ainur are not um they're not busy tending to the elves. Like they can multitask. They can observe what Melkor is doing, and they know that Melkor's like up to no good, but he is their brother, and so they're gonna let him live. And um then he goes off into the dark places, into the mountains, and just does his own thing. And they're like, okay,
mm-hmm.
he's over there doing that, that's fine. And so they're gonna go and talk to the elves and get to know them. I like that so much more than, oh, you're not paying attention to me, well, watch me do my thing. I don't like that version of Melkor.
I don't know.
So
I guess like it just kind of for
it's
me
it's a
kind
little bit too comedic.
endears.
It's a little too
Uh,
comedic for me. And Melkor is supposed to be the strongest, the wisest, the most powerful Ainur that was ever created by Iluvatar. Only in equal wisdom and power to Manwë, um, and probably only equal to like um physical, like, well, we would think physical strength possibly would be Tulkas.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love how every Saturday, Lord of the Rings, we get so sidetracked with other franchises.
well, technically this is Literary Souls,
This is
so
true. Yeah, I need to stop saying that this is a Tolkien podcast, because this is just more than a Tolkien podcast. This is a literature. It's way over there in the corner, but literature podcast. Check your Streamlabs. Okay, Thad, give me a second. Thank you, Thad. $20. Here's for the coffee fund. Plus some more to throw a lot of booze in that coffee to help you get through September 2nd when the Rings of Prime premieres on Amazon.
yep.
When the
That's
abomination prepare. Yes, I will yeah, there will be some. I'll have some Irish coffee some mornings. I'll be like, oh, God. Looking at that.
September 1st is going to be the last day of sanity for me.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be amazing. Like, well, that Saturday we're gonna be like, goodbye, Ark. It was nice knowing you.
That's right. That's right.
That next day we're gonna wake up and like our hair is gonna be like,
What is happening? What did we watch last night? I don't remember. I don't want to remember.
all I remember is feeling this sense of dread.
And then disappointment.
And then validation.
Yep. Yeah, but it's not going to be the good type of validation.
It's gonna be the
melancholy validation.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, this is just this is where you can't say read the Silmarillion and you get the same story. This is one of those where you have to read the Book of Lost Tales and you'll get this specific chapter, which is nice, but it once again it shows how Tolkien thought of multiple different angles and multiple different directions that he could have taken the story, and that in and of itself is impressive, because we have a completely different story to how the elves were found right here than what they were in the Silmarillion. So Ladart says you'll be in good company with Az in the loony bin. Yes, we'll be wearing the straight jackets in the padded
Straight
room.
Jacket Club. I am planning on doing a what Tolkien and the Lord of the Rings means to me video that will drop on September 2nd, counter programming for the Abomination. Yes, and my understanding, if I remember correctly, Elijah will be doing something in her Discord. Mando feels the same on pizza night with Bloop Bloop.
Yeah.
Why you gotta remind me of that? I had pizza, so I not only had pizza for lunch, I had pizza for dinner, and Mr. Bloop Bloop got the. He's like, "Hey," and I'm just gonna eat my pizza over here.
Yeah, I'm gonna move it away.
There was a tear as I was eating my pizza. I'm just like, why, Mr. Bloop Bloop? Why do you have to waste our money on that abomination? What do you mean? You're witnessing the first dwarf? But yes, that pineapple doesn't belong on pizza.
I stand by it.
I stand by it. I am married to someone who likes pineapple on pizza. We're getting therapy. It's in the works. But I will probably be in the loony bin with Az and Ark before all of that goes down.
Yep.
Yes. Let's see. And then the next chapter is the theft of Melko and the darkening of Valinor. So basically, after the elves kind of come in, and we don't know how long that they were there before Melko decided to be stupid. One of those.
L-Box is one of those. He's a heretic. So's Gibbons. Gibbons plays. He's also a heretic, and he was in your chat too.
I know.
You're
I
surrounded
know.
by them, Mendo. You're
I
surrounded by
am.
them.
I am. I've come to accept that. Just because I accept that your taste buds are corrupted doesn't mean I have to like it. But yeah, so the theft of Melkor and the darkening of Valinor, basically this part of the chapter is very similar to Silmarillion in the fact that like Melko corrupts the elves, basically saying, hey, you know that you're actually supposed to be in Middle Earth, not here, and the Valar are just using you as kind of slaves. And the elves are like, what do you mean we're slaves? And then, like, basically, Melko's just like, yeah, they're actually waiting for the second children of Iluvatar, the humans, and they're gonna let them take over Middle Earth. Elves are like,
Yeah, and
what?
he basically in this chapter he basically does what Sauron is known to do, just scheming and telling lies and whispering in people's ears. That is what Melkor was doing in this chapter, and he was trying to cause a rift between um the Valar and the elves.
Which he did a very good job of, because even though the elves didn't like Melkor, knew he was lying, he turned them against the Valar.
Yep.
He did
And
his job.
it's he that is why Melkor and Sauron are two of the greatest villains that I have ever read, because
Mm-hmm.
as the reader, you know that they're evil. You know that they're the antagonists, but you get to see how the other characters in the books react and deal with them. And
Mm-hmm.
then that's why, like, when you think of Manwë, you're like, why didn't you see this coming? You
He
think of,
did.
well, he did see it coming, but he could have rallied all of the Valar, well, he ends up doing that, yes. But when you're reading it, when you're actively reading it and you don't get to those parts yet, you're like, why don't you just like stop him? Why don't you go to the Valar and give them a good old fashioned spanking and say, hey, like, I'm here to stay. I am an actual demigod. I was created by the god that created you, and I am far, far older and far stronger than you will ever be. And now I understand that Iluvatar created this world for you and then also for the humans, but you just knock it off. Like, that's what I wish Manwë would do, but he was
Mm-hmm.
he was too wise and almost in a way
Passive.
passive. Yes. And I like this chapter. This chapter's cool.
Mm-hmm.
This one is like, you see Melkor, Morgoth, you see his power on full blast. You don't see like his corrupting and creating mockeries. You don't see that. You don't see his strength, but you see his tenacity, and you see his ability to poison the minds of
Mm-hmm.
people that are actually pretty wise.
Yes. Smile a while for me. Hello, I just came in for the end, I'm sure. Kind of, but you're still here. I'm glad to see you, friend. Jeremy Sauron made the One Ring because he was trying to control everyone's sober choice in Destiny. And
I
destroyed
did that's
pineapple on pizza, but the free peoples of Middle Earth kept their deliciousness. My
I
God, Jeremy.
that is not the way I thought that comment was going to go. I thought it was going to add to the story. I thought it was going to add to the podcast. But no, it's just pineapple on pizza. Oh my gosh, it's a curse.
You can probably guess from my avatar, but Sauron is not only my favorite villain of all time, but one of my favorite literary characters. Yes, super
And
supper choice.
I have a problem. I have a problem with the way that Gary and all of them talk about how Sauron is so much lesser than Morgoth, and how Sauron is so much weaker than Morgoth. Sauron lived a lot longer than Morgoth because they were created at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
They both had a hand in creating the world. The Maiar had just as much a hand in creating the world as the Ainur did, and still do. Um, and he also was able to live far longer. And he was just as important as Morgoth because he was Morgoth's chief lieutenant.
Mm-hmm.
He was his right hand man. So I don't really like it when they say that Sauron is a nobody, that he's just trying to get Morgoth's power. No, he had a very real shot of being the next Dark Lord over the entire world.
Mm-hmm. Lobox is written in one of the Tolkien books. Pineapple belongs on pizza, and the hobbits were happy.
I'm gonna
Don't you
time.
amen him, Jeremy?
I'm gonna time him out. I'm just gonna start timing people out. I'm gonna
my
do it.
gen-
I'm
my
gonna go
general
crazy in chat.
my general impression was that the earliest versions of the story were more adventurous in tone, but as he worked on them, Tolkien made them more serious. Yet made a conscious effort to avoid grim, dark. Yes,
Yes.
serious tones, but not just being Edgar Allan Poe for Edgar Allan Poe's sake.
And this is also a point that these were intended as fairy tales. These were
Mm-hmm.
intended as folklore. These were intended as you read them to your children and they have a moral to the story.
Yes.
And so
So
that's
they
why they
have to be
have that.
lighter a little bit.
Yes, that's why they have like a Goldilocks and the Three Bears vibe. That's why like it's all happy and there's a little bit of sadness, but not too much. But
Mm-hmm.
then he wanted to have that more serious tone and he accomplished that very, very well.
Yes. Yes. So also, let's see. Basically, I think I do like I I, I think I like Silmarillion Feanor better than this Feanor because this Feanor just seems stupid.
Yeah, this
Like
Feanor is pretty dumb. At least the Feanor in the Silmarillion is
he knew
he's
he was being
pride.
deceived.
Yeah, he knew he was being deceived, but he had pride and didn't want to be wrong.
Right.
And
Whereas this Feanor
so
is just like, I know you're right and wrong, and I don't care. I just like my shiny rocks. It's like, why are you doing this? You were just told by the Valar that like, yes, the second children of Iluvatar are coming, but like we don't know anything. We don't know when, where, how. Just like with you guys, we didn't know anything, and so we're trying to make sure that we take care of all of you guys. And Feanor's just like, so you lied to us. Man was like, no, like I'm telling you the truth now that we don't know. And Feanor's like, I'm gonna take my shiny rocks and go home.
yeah, it's just I mm, I don't like it. And see, that's the thing. That is the beauty of reading these books and having discussions about them is you and I can disagree on things. You and I can agree on things. Thad can go ahead and say one thing that either we do or don't agree with, or and then there's also the things that are fact, the things that are in the lore that you can't agree or disagree with. And when it comes to a retelling of a story or a you the way that I look at the Silmarillion and well, specifically the Feanor Silmarillion and this chapter's Feanor is it's just a different path. And
Mm-hmm.
so they're both correct, they're both accurate, but they're just
Different.
different. I don't want to say this, but it's almost like an alternate timeline.
Mm-hmm.
But I hate saying that because of the way that Marvel and everyone else nowadays uses that term.
Mm-hmm. That response: Sauron being lesser than Morgoth. Sauron is the last man standing, and as per Gandalf, is still there, just a formless wraith. We know he eventually regains power to prepare for the Dagger of Daggerath. I've said
Yes.
that right.
Yes, you are correct, Thad. And that
Yes.
that is that is the important thing that a lot of people, especially some people that even read the books, Like, oh, I read that book in high school. It was cool. Or I watched the movies and then read the books. Like, yeah, but you have to continually read the books to understand that specific point. When the ring was thrown into Mount Doom and he was effectively killed, he was just reduced to a wraith because he is still a god. He is
And you
still a
can't
demigod.
they
Like,
can't be killed in the sense that we like in the sense
even
that like
Morgoth is
is still
technically
alive.
a wraith and is still alive. He is just very, very weak. And as we know in the Daggerath,
He's
that is
released.
that is Ragnarok. That is Tolkien's version of Ragnarok, and that is going to be the last major showdown between Morgoth and his Maiar against everyone else.
And we all know he's going to be defeated because he's already been defeated. Like,
But he
but
still
this
wants to
time,
have that attempt. He's still got that gunpowder diet in him. He's still
hmm
like really upset how they've treated him. He's still really upset that they're thwarting his plans, that they're messing everything up, that they're not letting him be king. It's the generic. It really is when you break it down. It's the generic evil king is what
hmm
Morgoth is, and that's what Sauron wants to be. And then Sauron loses, and so he's just like, okay, boss, when you get out, you come find me, and I'll have some bad guys ready, and we'll give it one last show. That's pretty
hmm
much what it came down to, and that's why I enjoy, like Thad does. That's why I enjoy Sauron as an antagonist. That's why I
hmm
really like him.
Yeah, I do like how they do the dark, like the kind of darkening of Valinor. Like, I like the description they used. I don't like Ungoliant's other name. It's
It's weird.
where Warilome.
Yeah, but then there's also, as the Noldoli speak of her as Ungoliant the spider, or as Gwerlum the Black. But then there's also Ungwe Lianti, the Great Spider,
Right.
who in
Well,
Meshes did the Eldar call her, naming her also Weary Lome or Gloomweaver. And then like she's got like six different names, and I'm glad that you just stuck with Ungoliant, just like you just
yes.
stuck with Shelob.
I also like in this part how Melkor realizes he's being betrayed, because in this one he's not technically betrayed. It's the, hey, I told you to do a thing. You're doing more than I told you to do. Stop it.
Yes, yes, yes. That was a nice touch because Ungoliant went further than what Melkor wanted.
Cause she was just
And
gonna suck the life out of everything, and he's like, "Hold up, I got stuff I gotta do. Don't destroy everything."
yep, in the Silmarillion, it's a complete betrayal. And then
Right.
she actually starts to try to kill him.
Where in this one, she just eats way too much and just can't stop.
So yes, I found things that I enjoyed more in this book than I did in the Silmarillion, but there are things in the Silmarillion that I found more enjoyable than in this book.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes back to my point that this is not these Silmarillion and the histories, they're not completed works. They are 75% done. They're 80% done. They're 95%. They're 99.99% done. But they're still not done
Mm-hmm.
as 100% completed published works like The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. That
Yes.
is why when I read the Hobbit, I greatly enjoy it. I'm getting a complete meal. When I read The Lord of the Rings, I enjoy it. I'm getting a complete meal. I don't even have to read the appendices. Most of the time when I do my rereadings, when I do my annual reading of The Lord of the Rings, I don't read the appendices because I don't
It's
I
just
don't need that.
extra stuff.
That's just extra, man. You don't. That's for like the nerd that wants to dive deep. Is you go and you read the appendices.
Nerds
And
like me.
I mean, I enjoy reading the appendices. Like when I want to read up on a dwarf, I'll go read the dwarvish section and the lineage there. If I want to read about Aragorn and Arwen, I always know I can go to the appendices and get a very clear, concise story specifically for Aragorn and Arwen. So the appendices serve a purpose, but if I just want to enjoy that story, I'm just going to read the main book.
Mm-hmm.
I really my dream is to find a first edition British, like when it was released in Britain. I want to find a first edition of the Lord of the Rings without the appendices because I think that would be awesome. I
I mean, you found a pretty good find yesterday,
I
so.
did, I did, I did. I found that pristine, crisp edition of the Silmarillion. And I was like, oop, yoink,
Yep.
stole it right out from under Mando.
Yep. For those of you that did know, Art came by to visit me yesterday, and we were in a bookstore, and like like we walked past this stack of books because I was on a mission for something else, and he's like, "Hey, yoink!" I was like,
And it was a perfect condition Silmarillion, and I think it was like $3.
"No." It was, and it wasn't this copy. It wasn't the this one. It was an older copy.
Yep, from the 80s. I believe it's 82. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the edition. Yeah, it's nice. I really enjoy it.
But
Because
anyway,
I have that edition already, but mine is kind of beat up. But I saw that and I was like, nope, I got a replacement right there. I'm gonna like vacuum seal this one.
all right, and then the final part, the flight of the Noldoli. It's probably Noldori, Noldor. No, it's Noldoli. I said that right.
Yeah, you got it right. No delay. Which
Um.
is the Noldor or the Noldori. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Same thing.
And oh, speaking of the differences, there's a lot of weird names in the unfinished tales. It y I know that people when you're introducing them to the Silmarillion, you say, "Oh, it's written like an archaic form of English that we don't use, like it's not our modern English, and it's written like the King James version of the Bible with a bunch of these and thous, and it's so much more concise and
Mm-hmm.
so much more um easier to understand than the unfinished tale." So let's say that you have a portion of the fandom that only reads The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. They've never read the Silmarillion. Well, then you have some of that they do read the Silmarillion. There's even less of a population of people that enjoy Tolkien that read the histories because the histories are very difficult to understand. And you have to take your time when you're reading it because you have gnomes, you have the Noldoli, you have different versions of the story, so on and so forth. So yeah, it's when I was reading this the first time and I came across gnomes, I was like, what in the world are they talking about?
It is a little confusing. As nightmarish as this sounds, given that Ungoliant in the lore disappeared into the unexplored south, I keep hoping that they find another giant species of spider in South America to name after. No!
No thanks. I live north of that continent. I don't
I
want
know,
that.
right? I do too. I don't. I live in North America. If there's, thank you.
As far as I know, like there's just one canal that kind of separates it, but it's not even a true separation. So it's like you could just walk up there to North America. No thanks. No thanks. And plus there's going to be that one crazy person that really likes spiders and he's going to try to adopt one of those and then it's going to break out and it's going to ravage the ecosystem and then it's just going to be like now we have gigantic spiders in North America and I don't like spiders already.
Oh man. So this part of the story, I both liked. I liked, of course, the same thing. I liked some parts of it, and I didn't. The part I did like was the Eldar, or not the Eldar, the Valar are like, yeah, the trees are dead, but we can figure something else out. And the and the Noldor are like, we're gonna head out. You guys obviously don't know what you're doing, so we're gonna head out.
Yep.
And the Valar are like, okay.
Yeah. See, they gave in this tale they gave the Noldor and well they gave all of the elves more free will Like they
Mhm.
weren't just like, no, 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 you need to stay with us. We built this side, that we built this entire continent, this side of the world, this hemisphere of the world. We built it for the elves. So like, y'all are gonna stay here. And then that's when you have the Noldor. They actually like fought their way out, and they're gonna go fight um Melkor because he stole the Silmarils and all da 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 da. And that's in the
And that's still
Silmarillion,
here.
and that's still here. But the
different,
Valar were
more upbeat.
oh yeah, yeah, they were less depressed. That's what I noticed is even Aule, when he like made his dwarves, and then Iluvatar was like, "Hey, bro, why'd you make something when I said you couldn't make something?" And he's like, "I'm sorry, and I'll go ahead and kill him right now in front of you." And then he's like, "Hold up." Iluvatar said, "Hold up, I'll just put him to sleep, and then they'll wake up later on." But Aule was still depressed, and like Yavanna's depressed because now she has to make the ends, and Manway's depressed because he has a bunch of bickering brothers and sisters, and it's very sad when you read the Silmarillion,
Mhm.
and it's just like, man, cheer up.
Hi Mo,
Hey
welcome
Mo, what's
in.
up?
But yeah, I think that's that the slightly, and I understand why things are a little bit more somber, as we already talked about in the Silmarillion and the later works. But sometimes it's kind of nice to be like, oh, the gods, the all-knowing gods, who are not all-knowing, but like the very powerful gods aren't completely depressed all the time.
Yep.
Like,
And also there is a steep contrast between the elves in the Hobbit and the elves in the Silmarillion. And I know you want to say it's because the elves are constantly at war, yada yada. No, the Silmarillion spans thousands of years, and the Hobbit only spans, I believe it's two.
I think so.
I think it's like maybe a year and a half or so. And when you go to Rivendell the first time, you have all of the elves singing as Thorn and company are coming up to Rivendell, and then
Mm-hmm.
you have Elrond actually being a very kind host, and the contrast is the elves are so happy in the Hobbit, and now you have like Feanor, and you have oh, Círdan and or Círdan. You have Celebrimbor. Like they're all just so depressed. Well,
Moody, broody.
actually, Círdan is the only one that is only semi-depressed because he's just like, I want to live next to the sea. That's all I want. And so when Beleriand was sunk by Iluvatar, he was just like, I still want to live by the sea. So he just made
Basically.
Grey Havens 2.0. He just
Mm-hmm.
moved over. So
And the thing like this, like we said, Feanor is dumber here, but the kinslaying still happens. But the way that the kinslaying happens in the Book of Lost Tales versus the Silmarillion, like I would say that this kinslaying, like it's a little bit more.
a little bit more brutal.
Yeah, and also the other elves didn't just lie down and let the Noldor take over. The Noldor had to like, they're like, "Oh, you're gonna take our stuff? Well, not without a fight." On this version,
Yeah,
whereas
yeah.
the other one, they're just like, "Oh no, we can't defend ourselves." Ah,
And this
and
is where I think, like, if you were to take the Silmarillion and all of the histories, and then if Tolkien was alive in the 70s, like he lived throughout the, like he was able to work on it throughout the 60s and live in deep into the 70s, and he passed away at like, let's say 1980 instead of 1972. If he just had eight more, well, if he just had 7 more years, 1973 I believe is when he passed away. And so if he just had 7 more years to work on the Silmarillion, I think if you were to take all of the histories, and if you were to take the Silmarillion and just compress it all into one, it would have filtered out all of this nonsense, and you would have gotten a tale that it would have been just as impactful as the Lord of the Rings, and you wouldn't have all of these variants to the stories. You wouldn't have all of these alternatives, and I that's what I try to do with these stories is I try to like pick and choose. Like I would prefer to have this like very brutal civil war.
mm-hmm.
known as the kinslaying. I would prefer to
Right.
have this than what we got in the Silmarillion. So what I do is I just kind of like cut this piece out and put it where the Silmarillion is, and I count that in my head canon
Mm-hmm.
as this is actually what happened. Now, Feanor being dumb, I cut that out and I put the smart Feanor from the Silmarillion. I put that in its
Mm-hmm.
place. And so that is what I do as a fan of Tolkien. Like that is just, it's not hurting anybody. I'm not pushing it on anybody. And if I was to make a Silmarillion, I would follow the Silmarillion. If I was to make a Book of Lost Tales, book one, I would make book one of the Lost Tales. I wouldn't put my headcanon into it, but if I'm just enjoying it because I've read this so much, I would do it the way I want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Second favorite story by Tolkien is the story of Beren and Luthien. Yes,
Yes.
that's his like if we really, I think, and granted I am super just my own thoughts over possibly what is out there. My understanding is that's actually the story he cared about the most, was the story of Beren and Luthien, because it's kind of the telling of his story with his wife. I think he cared more about Beren and Luthien than he did
Then
about
Aragorn and Arwen.
and the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, because if even to this day, no one is allowed to touch the Beren and Luthien story. No one. Tolkien
Which is
estate be
why
damned.
which is why you cannot, there's no feasible way to make the Silmarillion without Beren and Luthien, because they play such a key point, they play such a pivotal role in that story. That is why y- you're not going to see or hear Beren and Luthien mentioned in this Rings of Power, because they can't do it.
They can't touch it.
The only time that it was mentioned in the Lord of the Rings is Aragorn is singing that Elvish song, and I believe that that was in the extended edition.
I
I don't
think
think it
so.
was in the theatrical release. And yes, Beren is John, and Luthien is his wife.
Mm-hmm.
On her gravestone, it has Luthien engraved, and on his gravestone, it has Beren engraved.
Mm-hmm.
So it is literally a an an autobiography of his love for his wife in those two characters.
Yep. Yeah, Thad says, I think the opening sentence of Baron Luthien is the greatest sentence ever constructed in the English language. And he puts it, among the tales of sorrow and of ruin that come down to us from the darkness of those days, there are yet some in which, amid weeping, there is joy, and under the shadow of death, light that endures. Yes, agree. That is mwah, mwah, bestest. But yeah, like, I fully think that he cared more about the story of Baron and Luthien than he did about any other work that he's ever done ever. Like, and I have like I said, the evidence I have to support that is no one is allowed to touch that story. Like the rights will, I doubt the rights will ever be purchased for a Baron and Luthien story like that. Like, I think, granted, I don't remember this like where it's written, or if it's actually in the contract or something, but I think like there's something somewhere saying no one is allowed to buy the rights to the story of Baron and Luthien. No one's allowed to touch it. No one's allowed to even think about touching it.
That could very well be accurate, but I haven't seen anything like that. But I wouldn't. I would not support. I would not watch. I would act like it does not exist. If there is ever a company that tries to make it, I will not support them. I will immediately cancel any type of service if they, like, let's say Amazon tries to do immediately. If I still had it, which I don't, I would immediately cancel Amazon Prime. Um, I would do my best to try and get my friends to stop using Amazon. I would say, hey, you just need to stop using it because they don't care about you. I'm trying to do that now, anyways,
Mm-hmm.
but I would try even more so, because the story of Beren and Luthien is so
Sacred.
impactful, and it is sacred to the Legendarium, and it is sacred to Tolkien, and it should be sacred to his descendants, but it obviously isn't. And just real quick on why I say it isn't, the president of the Tolkien estate is Tolkien's grandson, and his grandson stated that he believed that Peter Jackson, when he created the trilogy, Peter Jackson did not go far enough in changing the story. He said Peter Jackson was too close to the story, was too accurate. We shall see what the family does now. Yep, that is the thing. We read in the article in that the one that was written by that Laura chick, um the one that was horribly written.
Right, right, yeah.
She stated that it was in 2017 when they got the rights, and then it's been ongoing. The production has been ongoing for
We're
5
in
years.
2022. How long? Like, do the math. They've had the rights since 2017.
Yep.
They're just now doing production, and it's 2022. Yes,
Two
couple years.
years.
There was a pandemic. Sure, a pandemic for two
Well,
years, but like,
but here's the thing. Here's the thing. We can go back and find actual, like, we can compare notes, and we can make observations. We have no concrete facts to like officially state this, but it was after Christopher Tolkien died. That is when they ramped up production, and he died in 2020, the beginning of the pandemic. They worked their butts off throughout the entire pandemic to produce this. That is because you had Christopher Tolkien and his trusted advisors that most would call quote unquote Tolkien scholars. He had a great group of people that were still loyal to him and to his father's legacy, that were working with the Tolkien estate and working with Amazon, and they were the ones to keep this in check. That is why it took 3 whole years to get anything done. And then as soon as he dies, they start firing people left and right, and they start amping up production, and that that is what we need to pay attention to. We need to pay attention to the timeline. When did they get the contract? When did Christopher die? When are they releasing this? They're releasing this on the, well, first, horribly, sickeningly, they're releasing it on the anniversary of Tolkien's death, but also
mm-hmm.
they're releasing it 2 years after Christopher died, meaning they've had at least 2 years of unsupervised production, two
And it,
years
it
of unsupervised altering of the lore.
and it goes to show, like, if you look at like the value, like, yes, there are some scenes that we've seen in the trailers that are beautiful, whatever, but this production looks rushed. Like, it looks like they did things quick, fast, and in a hurry, when that shouldn't have been the case. They should have been working on this since 2017. Like,
Yep.
they've had time to make it look good, to have a good story behind it, but it looks like they've only done things the past 2 years.
Peter Jackson, Philippa Boyens, and Fran Walsh started writing the script for The Lord of the Rings in 1997. So you have 97, 98, 99, 2000, 2001. They had probably 3.5 years of production that they could have done, because they were still I believe that they were still working on Return of the King in 2001. And so if my memory of the appendices is correct, they had everything finished by the time the first movie was released. The Fellowship of the Ring was released. I believe that
Mm-hmm.
that is correct. Thad
I think
or
so.
anyone else in the comments, or anyone else watching this podcast later on, please correct me if I'm wrong. But I believe that they only worked on the trilogy for about maybe 4 years.
I think so.
So we've had 5 years of Amazon having this contract. 5 years. This should be a completed product by now. All
They
they
should have
should be,
already done all 5 seasons. They should, like, this. Yeah, it
or at
should.
least they should have probably a good 3, maybe 3.5 seasons done already. They should have a gigantic chunk already done for this series, and
And
all they
even before.
have is season 1. They haven't even started season 2.
And like, they had the rights for what, so pandemic hit in 2020. They got the rights in 2017. They had 3 years 3 years to work on this before the pandemic, because people want to say, oh, well, the pandemic shut down production. They should have already been started. They
Yep.
should have already had season 1 done, season 2 most likely done, working on season 3 before the pandemic even hit.
Yep. And that's that was a part of my point with they have 2 years of unsupervised production. They had 3 years of supervised production. Christopher Tolkien was constantly looking at what they were doing. Most likely, he was constantly looking at the scripts and making sure that those were lore accurate, and looking at the wardrobe, looking at the character design, looking at the art style, making for sure that yes, this is the embodiment of what my father would have wanted. Even though I know you're not going to do it right, I want you to try to do it as correctly as possible. Um, and that was for 3 years, and Amazon probably hated that. Amazon probably hated being hamstrung by Chris, because we know that Christopher was a stickler. We know that Christopher knew what should and should not have been in the lore. And we know that Christopher did not like the trilogy, and he absolutely hated, probably I don't even think he saw The Hobbit, because of he still had that bad taste from Peter Jackson's trilogy. Um so he was probably being very, very strict with what they were doing with this TV series. To be fair, I think Peter Jackson wanted to do the adaptation a long time, so he probably had a lot of research in hand and so forth. PJ and his team also respect the material. Yes, that is a well-known point. But what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying is they had production from '97 to probably 2000 2001, around there, and so you can only accomplish so much in that amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
You can go ahead and have all the scripts made. You can go ahead and have all the writing done. That is a big chunk of the process, yes. But then there's also script changes. There's also like, oh, maybe we need to add this scene in instead of this scene. There's always going to be changes, and that's a part of the process. Um, and so yes, I do believe that no, there's no way that Peter Jackson would have gotten the green light by New Line to create this series if he didn't already have a script and um um didn't already portray and show his know-how on the subject of Tolkien and the Lord of the Rings. There's absolutely no way that they would have given him the go ahead. There's no way that the Tolkien estate and the Saul Zaentz company would have allowed Peter Jackson to write, direct, or produce anything related to Tolkien if the script that Tolkien and Fran and Philippa came up with originally was not halfway decent. And so that tells me that this new version of the Tolkien estate,
Mm-hmm.
where Christopher didn't was not the president, where Christopher was just taking a backseat role, where Patricia, Christopher's sister, was also not the president. She was also just behind the scenes because they are both getting up there in age. That tells me that this newer generation does not care about what you know about Tolkien or what you know about the lore. They just care about money.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's sad. Sorry to say, like, that's sad. Like, someone like someone who is so influential on Western civilization within a generation and a half has fallen this far.
Yep.
Actually, or is actually as long brain can't it it actually too as long as it I can't.
Yeah, they wanted Saul's Dance wanted one film to encompass
Uh-huh.
the trilogy, which is impossible. New Line came in and said, "Isn't there 3 books? Make it a trilogy." And so they had to like tweak the script. They actually gave them way more room, but they still had to cut out a lot of
Mm-hmm.
stuff, like having the elves at Helm's Deep instead of actually having the Rohirrim at Helm's Deep, because Faramir, Eomer was there at Helm's Deep. I'm not a true
Mhm.
Tolkien fan. I said Faramir instead of Éomer. Oh no. Stone me now.
What is up, Salty? How are you doing today? How are you doing? We're on the flight of the Noldoli.
Yep.
Let's try
Still
and like
there.
steer the ship back. um, I will say. So the thing that I thought also was funny, how some of the elves were out hunting with the Valar for the festival, and so like this whole idea where like, because in the Silmarillion, Feanor's like, you gods knew what was going on, and you let Melkor do this thing. Like that's not an excuse here, because some of the elves were actually with the Valar, so Feanor couldn't use that as an excuse that the Valar knew what Melkor was doing. I like that part of this here. Like it kind of takes the blame off of the Valar for Melkor or Melko in this version of the story. Taking basically having the trees eaten, like while everyone was partying, because there was a festival going on, which was standard. It was a yearly festival. Everyone knew it was happening at that time, and so it couldn't be used as an excuse by Feanor. But still, Feanor's stupid.
Yep.
No matter which version, this one or the other one, Feanor is a dum dum. So I just find it funny how the elves were hunting with the Valar. Just like, no one can really blame the Valar in this version of the story, because they were duped just as much as the elves were, and they all were like, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea this was going on." But like, I think at the same time, it makes Feanor look stupid, even more so because he's still like the Valar can be blamed less, like because I don't know, like Feanor. It takes away Feanor's reason for being angry, his validation, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is where I would like to see a mixture of both versions,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not always cut like this. It's not always black and white. Um, this version has its faults, but the Silmarillion's version does indeed have its faults. Um,
Because it makes
it
the
is
Valar look stupid.
Yes, yes. I have often found that when I'm reading about the Valar in the I'm gonna say it wrong, but the Ayulaninde or something like that, the creation portion of the story, the Valinor were amazing. They were smart. They knew what they wanted. Um, they knew what they wanted to make, but yeah, when it comes to the elves, like when the elves are introduced, it's like they took a steep dive in their IQ. That's what I've always noticed, and I've never paid attention to it. I didn't want to pay attention to it, so I just overlook it, because I still think like Aule's like he is the god of the forges. He's the one that has shaped the mountains. There's no way that he is going to like let the elves do that, and because like surely that he's wise and Manway's wise, and the only Ainur that stayed consistent is Olmo.
Mm-hmm.
That's
He's like, I
why.
like the water.
But it's not just that I like the water, it's I hate Melkor. Here's why I hate Melkor. I love the elves, I love men, and here is why I love humans and mankind. And um here's why I love the elves and elvish kind. And here's why I hate um wait. Where is the current year representation and agenda in this story?
I guess this version in the Book of Lost Tales is a little older. So there's not that representation as much. It's a happier story. I will say, as far as like the tone of this particular version of the whole beginning of the Silmarillion, I I like it that it's slightly more upbeat. I do. I like, because like The Silmarillion and the book and the Unfinished Tales is depressing.
It really is. It really is, man.
Arc loves men confirmed.
What? Wow. Wow. Okay. All right. All right. Fine. You insane woman. I deserve that. I deserve that one.
Yeah, like I agree with you. I feel like there are some parts where I wish that in this particular story the elves were a little smarter. Where like whereas in this one I really like that the Valar are a little bit more upbeat, but also like they know what's going on. It's not like they're like, oh, we don't know why Melkor is doing the things he's doing. We don't know. We're just doing our own thing and just over here, and Melkor's just like, I'm just here, guys. Elmo was one of the Valar who did not sit on his ass and do nothing during the Noldor struggles. He led Turgon and his people to them. Yeah, yes.
Yep.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's another good point about Olmo. It was
He cared.
almost like when the elves left Valinor, uh, the Valar had nothing to do with them until it was almost too late and they actually had to intervene.
Right. Which is like that doesn't make logical sense when they literally created Valinor to help protect the elves. And then the elves were like, well, we don't want your protection. And the Valar go, huh, you don't want our protection, then go die. Like,
Yep, that is pretty much
what?
the definition of what it meant to be a Valar, which is weird.
Basically.
But
Yeah.
then you have Gandalf. Who was the Ainur that taught Gandalf patience and oh, and like she was the one that was always sad. I always forget her name because she's depressing. But yeah,
uh
hmm?
Smile a while. Should I be offended or not feel represented? Yes, you should feel angry at the lack of representation.
It's and where was the representation in the Valar? Huh? That's my question.
Manway
Huh?
had a wife who we don't really hear much about. A great depiction of Ulmo helping Turgon, the song Mirror Mirror, but yes, agreed. Sorry I was gone there for a while. No worries, Jacob. Welcome back. But yeah, I think that's always been the thing that like has confused me the most about like just Tolkien's legendariums. I feel like the Valar are just spoiled kids who are like, well, you don't want to play with our toys, so we're gonna go over here.
Well,
Like,
in some versions they are like that, but in some well, I mean, in the Silmarillion they're not spoiled children, but then they act like spoiled children, but then they return to being their more dignified form, and then in this version they're not spoiled children. They're understanding. It's it is definitely Tolkien in his notes and in his writings, like his spare time writing, as he's
mm-hmm,
creating the Silmarillion. You can see how he wanted to put different emotions and different values into the Valar, and into individual Valar and into the Valar as a whole.
mm-hmm.
As I said before, the only one that I have seen stay constant is Olmo. That is the only one that I have seen stay constant.
Makes sense. I totally base all of my current feelings off of what culture tells me to. Yes, as you should. But yeah, I think as far as overall like liking the characters in the Book of Lost Tales, I like the Valar in this version of the story than I do in the Silmarillion. Because they just seem got more godly, and they're not just depressed. Miss Daisy, sorry it's ridiculously late in
Hey,
saying
Miss
morning
Daisy.
around here. I understand, no worries, Miss Daisy. We
Hope all is
appreciate you
well.
coming in. Yes. But yeah, I think in the Book of Lost Tales, the Valar, granted, my kind of confusion with them is they got so distracted with the children of Iluvatar that they just let Melkor just walk around like, hey, we're distracted. You just be
Yeah,
good.
that's one of the things that I don't understand with this version is they in because in the Silmarillion they had everything prepared. They had
Mm-hmm.
everything prepared. They actually had and it was organized. And as soon as the elves came over, they like took a gigantic tour of the continent. They're like, okay, over here, that is where Aule lives, and over here, that's where Orme lives, and over here, like, see that mountain right there with that gigantic like throne? That's where I sit, Manway. That's where I sit up there. And then the water, that's almost domain, and it's just like, yeah, now you know everything. Build your kingdom. Go for it. We'll help you if you need anything. That's pretty much what the Silmarillion was like. But this one, it's more like, ooh, you look fancy, like you look just like Iluvatar said, and so I want to just look at you for a second, and then that one split second, Melkor's like, exit stage left, sayonara, and he just took off.
I can give you some reputation for the Valar. Imagine Vin Diesel's Tulkas.
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah, I could see that. I could see that. Once again, I want to see oh, Jason Momoa. I want to see him as Olmo.
Yes.
Just give him
Yes.
all the Aquaman roles. Like that's what I want to see. It.
Yes. But yeah, for those of you like, curious, like we're going through the Book of Lost Tales, and it's very different in a lot of ways to the Silmarillion and the Unfinished Tales. Um I still recommend you reading it to see what could have been, like what Tolkien was looking to thinking about making the Silmarillion. Like these are stories of how he was thinking about doing these things. Which like
In
Arkasule and
some
I've
ways, they're good. In other
mm-hmm.
ways, we're glad that they weren't this way.
Yes. And I think that's the biggest thing is to understand like Tolkien had some really cool ideas. He also had some what the heck were you thinking about? I'm glad you didn't do this ideas. But it's still like I guess because I love history, I think this is fascinating to be like, oh, we could have had like this version of events happening. Ooh, like this, like I feel like this as far as the Book of Lost Tales, this could have been a really good TV series where someone from our world falls into Middle Earth and is learning about the history. Like that could have been an amazing TV series of this one guy going to the different parts of Middle Earth and being told stories. Like
Yep.
that's amazing, in my opinion. But yeah, of course, they didn't want to do that because why would they want to make a good TV series? Why do you want to make money?
Absolutely. Why would you ever want to make money? Why would you ever want to like make your mark not only with in terms of Tolkien's legendarium, but also like this could be the beginning of a or the continuation of a fantastic career. Why would you ever want to do that? Totally no.
Oh man. I don't know. So, what are some of your like final thoughts in this last chapter? Because we are kind of going over the time that we kind of had set out to do.
Nah. What's time? What is time? My last remarks were on this chapter. It was it was good. I enjoyed reading it. It is definitely different. That's
Mm-hmm.
really the only thing that I could that I can say without like spoiling everything. In which
Mm-hmm.
order should we read these books? The Lost Tales first or the Silmarillion? The Silmarillion first
Mm-hmm.
because that is read it in the publication order.
Yes.
this is not like Brandon Sanderson's books where everything is interconnected and you can just like start from
Mm-hmm.
franchise to franchise within his universe. This read it in the publication order. Start with The Hobbit, go to the Lord of the Rings, and read the Lord of the Rings as the Fellowship, the Two Towers, and the Return of the King,
Mm-hmm.
and then go to the Silmarillion, and then start with the Book of Lost Tales Part One.
And
That
the
is
unfinished tales, like it's good. It's kind of I would read it like so as far as the 13 histories, because the Book of Lost Tales is actually part of the 13 histories of Middle Earth. There's 13 books of the histories of Middle Earth. But the Book of Lost Tales, part 1 and 2, are the first 2 books, and then the Lays of Beleriand, blah blah. Before reading the Lays of Beleriand, I would so in this order, I would read the Book of Lost Tales, book 1 and book 2, the unfinished tales, and then the Lays of Beleriand, and then the rest
yes,
of the 13 histories.
yes. And so the 13 histories, uh, you can read them in any order that you want, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, I would read, of course, I would read part 1 and 2 of the Book of Lost Tales, and then I would read the unfinished tales. Yes. Um, and then I guess you could go into the Lace of Beleriand. Um, but really, as soon as you get those first 3 books out of the way, because that's a decent foundation for the extra material that Tolkien had.
Mm-hmm.
You can read whatever you want because the Lays of Beleriand, the Tale of Turin, though it would be called the Children of Hurin, and
Mm-hmm.
then the Baron and Luthien, all of those are in the Silmarillion, and it's basically just a retelling of that
Mm-hmm.
with some additions and some variations in each. Because I my brother, like I've actually read these in the um, physical form. My brother had the Silmarillion, and he had the Children of Hurin. I read the Children of Hurin first, and then when I went and I read the Silmarillion, um, I remember Turambar and Hurin and his sister. I forget her sister's name, but it's it's all it's different. It's
Mm-hmm.
tweaked. As I said, it's a variation. And so when I was reading and I was like, wait. I didn't remember that he did this, or I remember he did something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Thad says, I think it depends upon how your brain orders information. Yes. Yes.
Agreed.
And to finish my comment on what I think, oh, excuse me, what I think about this story or this chapter, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I found it to be interesting.
Sorry, I got a text message from Mr. Bloop Bloop
Yep.
responding.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. That's pretty much all I got.
I'm gonna say my thoughts so far on reading the Book of Lost Tales versus the Unfinished Tales and the Silmarillion. I like the format that the Book of Lost Tales takes with the person who's from our world who falls into Middle Earth and kind of learning the histories. I like that format. I I do like the Valar and the Book of Lost Tales over the ones in the Silmarillion, but I like the rest of how the Silmarillion and the Book of Lost Tales or the Unfinished Tales um lays events out, I guess, or the stories in them. Um uh,
Yeah, that's
and
I can agree with that. I can agree with that. Yeah.
but as far as order of reading, I think so the way we did it was we did the Silmarillion first and the Unfinished Tales. I liked that we did that before going into the Book of Lost Tales. Like I because a lot of the stories in here are also in here, but I think before you read any of the 13 histories, before you read the Unfinished Tales, read the Silmarillion because you have a frame of reference to go off of.
Yep. I agree.
I think that's I would say before reading the histories and anything else, I would read the Silmarillion because you have a frame of reference to go off of.
All right.
Do you have anything upcoming, Ark, as far as your channel, or want to shout out anything, or?
I am on vacation right now, so I'm enjoying my little vacation. I plan on having a somewhat large stream Monday. Gonna be of course playing some single player games to start out, but then I'll be playing with Cappy and playing with maybe hopefully Trucker Rob later on in that day, and then also I will be playing um Alien Fire Team Elite or something like that. I think that's the name of the game. Well, I'll be playing that with Cowman 93 later on that day on Twitch as well. So we're gonna have a big day on Twitch Monday. That's this coming Monday, the 15th.
Ladar
So
says 24-hour stream. Let's go.
man, 24-hour stream. No, I can't do that again. Almost died. Almost died.
And people are asking for 72, like a May, whatever stream. Like, nah, man. Like,
Well, see, this is the thing. Jay Hailstorm said he did a 72-hour stream, but he actually he slept on stream or he took naps. So that's not really 72 straight hours. And I'm glad he didn't do 72 straight hours because I was there at the end of his 72-hour stream. It was rough. He was like having to push through at the end. He said like I can't feel my toes. I can't really think straight, can't really talk. I just want to end the stream. I want to stay alive long enough to reach that 72-hour mark and then I'm ending the stream and I'm just thinking, yeah, I'd feel the same.
well, Mr. Bloop Bloop said that there was a person on Twitch that did it was a subathon. So for those of you who don't know, like what a subathon is on Twitch is you have a goal every time. So you have a time period. So I'm gonna stream for 4 hours, and if I don't get any new subs, I'm gonna end it there. But if I get a new sub, I'll go 4 more hours. So like, and that's just kind of an example. It can be like 1 hour, like I'll stream for 1 hour, and then if I get a sub, I'll stream for another hour, and then another hour. So there was somebody on Twitch that streamed for a month straight
Yep. Yep.
because of a subathon, because people at the very end would give a sub and he'd go for a little longer. Yeah, it does. Long streams are harder than normal streams, of course. That's why most people stick to about 2 hours. That's about the sweet spot. I always get sad when the show ends, but I take heart. We'll be back next week. Later, it's like, what the heck? Yes, somebody did a month straight because they were doing a subathon, and every time they got a sub, they would go for a longer period of time, and so people were just subbing just to make the stream go longer.
And the
That's
only
why,
thing that you have to do is every 48, like the cap is 48 hours that Twitch will allow you to broadcast for. So at the 48-hour mark, you just end your stream and immediately start another stream, and then you just keep growing. You just keep going and going and going. There have been many streamers that have attempted that, and I've heard of many go for like a couple weeks at a time, and they'll go ahead and they will have a sleep stream, but what they'll do is they will have like if you donate something like a really loud noise happens and so if you're trying to sleep you'll be woken up. Now that sounds like an easy way to go insane to me.
yeah, Jacob, did he end up in a straitjacket? So basically, what ended up happening, from what Mr. Bloop Bloop told me, is literally like he just kept it live. He would sleep. He would eat normal. He just did his life, but it was just like he just left the camera live, and then he would come back and like do games and do different live streams and stuff like that. But like I don't like I can't fathom for a month straight having your entire life live. Basically, there used to be people who, yeah, like Thad said, 24 hours a day, no censoring anything. Like, nah, man. Like that's why also a lot of streamers now on Twitch have caps. Like they'll do a subathon, but once they reach 25 subs, they'll stop.
Yep.
That's a twisted social experiment. Agreed.
It's like the Truman Show, but self-inflicted.
Basically. And yeah, like that's I also more or less take care if you ever decide to stream, take care of yourself. Like it's fun, it's cool, but dang, that's why like for most of your average streamer, 2 hours per stream is just typically that sweet spot to where you get tired after about that, that like 1.5 to 2 hour mark. Most people can push past it, but most people's about 2 hour is the sweet spot. That's why most streams only last for about 2 hours,
Oh,
because
6 to 8 is easy now for me. 12
right,
hours
right,
is
right, right.
is pretty
And that's
simple
that's
too.
building up your what's the endurance. But most people 2 hours about that's why like that's the average prescription for streamers is 2 hours. Because after that, people start getting tired of watching you start getting tired of being live
Hmm.
most
Oh yeah,
most of the
there's
time.
always going to be days where you're just having an off day, as with normal life, you have off days, and you're going to be sitting there streaming, playing a game, and you're going to think, I really just want to take a nap right now. And so you just have to be honest with your chat. You're like, chat, I've had fun. This is great, but I'm starting to like get a little tired. I'm gonna go do my own thing off stream, and then I'll be back later on, and I will see all of you guys again at that time. Just be
Hmm.
honest. That is
Yeah.
that is what we want. That is when you're in chat, or whether you're in chat or the streamer. That is what we want. We want honesty, and if as long as you're not being a grifter, that's cool.
Yeah.
So
Later, I'd be tired of being alive at that point. Yes, yeah, that's why like streaming is not for everyone. Like people want to try and make it out as anyone can do it. Yes, you can, anyone can get a camera, turn it on and be live and do a thing. But it like not everyone should be a streamer. I'm just gonna say that everyone shouldn't be, because that's not like not everyone's built for that. Not everyone's built to talk for 24 hours at a time. I'm working my way up to do an hour live stream, but doing a 24-hour stream sounds
oh
psychotic.
man,
Just
the 24-hour stream, like I started snapping at people I had my buddy Space Zombie came into chat one time, and I was just like snapping at him for no reason. I was just like, I'm tired, I'm annoyed. You're trying to make me laugh, but you're just not telling funny jokes at this moment, or jokes that I don't find funny, and so I'm going to like belittle you and like try to break your spirit. But like you can't break Zombie's spirit. You cannot break Space Zombie's spirit. So he's just like, "Wow, Ark, you're kind of acting like a child right now. Does someone need a nap?" And I'm just like, "Oh, shut up." So yeah,
yes, Miss Daisy.
24-hour streams or even 12-hour streams are not for everyone. They're
Right.
just not.
Streamers need sleep as well. That's right, Daisy. Creative Blue. It's ironic that I do live streams, but I hate making small talk with coworkers and random strangers in person. Right? You have to like. It's a skill you have to like learn. Like, yes, there are people like me who are extroverts who I can just talk and talk and talk, but that I've been doing that my whole life. I can talk about the air and stuff. Let's see. And I fell asleep for like 3 hours, and people told me I missed everything.
Yes, yes. In that 3-hour period, a lot of stuff did happen,
That's
but
why I'm like scared. Like for those of you who like follow me on Twitch, there is a bar, like a follower bar that I have, that once I reach 200 followers on Twitch, I will do a 24-hour stream. I don't know. I think I'm gonna just go. I'm probably gonna lose. You're gonna see me live.
losing your mind.
uh, it's different with topics to care about. Yeah, and that's one of the things. Like you gotta talk about something you like, because if you're not talking about something that you like, it gets boring for you and the other people. But anywho, we've been live for quite a bit. Shout out something that I'm probably doing. I will be streaming for sure Tuesday. I might stream tomorrow something. I don't know. I don't know. I maybe later today. Don't promise these things. It's a bad idea. But well, 200 followers, yeah, I'll do a 24-hour stream. But I'll be for sure streaming Tuesday with playing some Star Wars The Old Republic, most likely. I might stream later today or tomorrow, something. I don't know. I have stuff that I need to do today around the house. My car decided to be stupid, so that might be a thing that I have to look at and work on. Shouting out, I have a merch store. If you go to my link down below in the description, my link tree, there is a merch store. Please get merch. Let me know what your thoughts are on the merch. If you want me to do different kinds of merch, because the merch is cool. You on No Sleep in College was scary enough. That's right. Smile a while was with me in college. She really can. It makes her helpful for road trips, but scary for introverts. Yes, I have done a road trip with Smile for a while, like where we were basically awake for a very long period of time, and she saw a side of me that was awake for a very long period of time. And more or less, what happens, I think, is when I get tired, like. Yeah, I think everyone gets snappy, but I'll also just start talking and then stop and be like, what? Like mid sentence, I'll just stop and I'm like,
Oh, so you did go a little bit insane.
yes. If any of you are curious, what Manda with like less than an hour of sleep for a 24 period of time is, because college is college, she is the person to get stories from, because. Yeah. If your car doesn't start, give it a darn good thrashing with a stick. Jacob, I might do that. But yeah, okay. I'll for sure there will be a stream on Tuesday. You mean your car that dings at you all the time and Marco Polo's having issues? Yes. Great rest of the day, lovelies. Great stream as always. Thank you, Late Art. We appreciate we really do appreciate you guys in the chat. You guys are awesome and amazing. And yes, my car is having my car is yelling at me. Was lurking most of the stream, cleaning the apartment. Have a great rest of the weekend, everyone. Yes, thank you guys so much. We will be again here next week, 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, for more of the craziness and going through the histories of Middle Earth.
We should actually be finishing the book, I believe.
Yeah, we'll be finishing this one and starting on the next one, hopefully.
Yep. So don't miss next week's stream. It's gonna be good.
Yes. And then after the second book, we'll start the Lays of Balerion, which is the only book. Like I have the first and second books, and I have the fourth and fifth book of the series, but I still don't have the Lays of Balerion because for some reason that is so hard to get. I don't know.
So we'll probably just skip that one until you can get that. Because I'm fine with ebooks. I'm fine being a pleb. I don't have to have a physical copy. But I know if you want one, we can just move on. We very well could, after we finish this, we could move on to Baron and Luthien, because I love that story.
That might be a good idea. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But yes, be looking at social media, my Discord, Ark's Discord, all of the things. Follow Ark. Can't wait. I love Saturday school. Thank you guys. We appreciate you guys so much. Please just be watching us on social medias, Discord, and seeing what's going on, because right now in this phase of time in my life in particular, I don't know what I'm doing from day to day because reasons.
Things
and reasons. And yeah, you'll see us around in different chats and things like that, different live streams. Hopefully you guys have a great Saturday, great rest of your weekend. And Ark, hopefully you have a good vacation. So you guys are amazing and awesome. Bye.